What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. Just wanted to talk to you guys quickly about bugging out and being realistic with your bug out plans. So, I see a lot of preppers with very ambitious plans for bugging out, and many of these people don't factor in terrain into their bug out plans, okay? So, look at this terrain, guys, okay? You can see it's very dense here, a lot of vegetation, a lot of hills, okay? If you're bugging out, walking through the forest like this is going to be extremely tiring, okay? I'm a lifelong outdoorsman. I've spent most of my life in the outdoors, hunting, hiking, camping, fishing. And I can tell you guys that walking through the forest can really tire you out any time of the year, whether it's summer, fall, winter, spring. When you're walking through natural terrain, it's very tiring because you have a lot of ups and downs, you have vegetation, and it wears you out. You know, walking just 5 or 10 miles through this type of terrain is going to feel like 20 or 30 miles on flat ground or pavement, okay? So that's something you need to factor in, okay? If you're training for bugging out, if you're practicing and you're throwing your backpack on and you're hiking, make sure you do it in terrain that's going to be very similar to where you're actually going to be bugging out, okay? So if you plan to bug out to the mountains and you live in the city and you're training on concrete, you know, you're walking down roads, that's a bad way to train. I mean, of course, it's better than nothing, but you're not simulating reality and what you're going to be facing, okay? And you also have to be realistic, okay? You don't want your bug out to turn into a survival situation, all right? There's a limit to the amount of resources you can carry on your back, okay? Obviously, you can get a huge backpack and you can stuff that backpack with tons and tons of food, but that's going to wear you out. If you're carrying, you know, a 50-pound pack or a 100-pound pack and you're hiking through terrain like this, you're going to get worn out very quickly with a heavy pack, okay? So you have to be realistic, okay? You don't want your bug out to turn into a survival situation. You know, and even for an experienced outdoorsman, survivalist, you know, covering a lot of ground over terrain like this is going to be a challenge, okay? Anything more than 10 or 20 miles in this type of terrain is going to be a challenge for even the most experienced outdoorsmen who are in really good shape, okay? So if you're not in the best shape and you don't really spend a lot of time in the outdoors, it's going to be even more difficult for you. Not to mention all the different hazards, okay? You know, in these ferns here, you got snakes, you got ticks, you have all kinds of different hazards here. You got wild animals, bears, elk, you know, mountain lions. So, you know, you need to be realistic in your plans, and you need to kind of sit down and evaluate your bug out plan, and you need to ask yourself, is this a realistic plan? And I'm not only talking about forested terrain or natural terrain or mountains. I'm also talking about urban terrain. You know, if it's a true SHTF situation, you're not just going to be hiking down a road, okay? You're going to stand out. People are going to see you. You know, even in an urban environment, you may have to go off of roads and you may have to use alternate routes, you know, and using alternate routes is going to wear you out. You know, if you have to climb a fence, you know, if you have to negotiate different types of obstacles, you have to swim across rivers or bays, whatever, you know, all these things you have to factor in. You have to be realistic, okay? Bugging out is not going to be throwing a backpack on and walking down the highway for 50 miles, all right? It's not realistic to think that you're going to do that. And to think you're going to be able to bug out in terrain like this and cover a lot of distance, you know, you're going to wear yourself out, and it's going to quickly turn into a survival situation. You know, after the first 24 hours, you're going to go through all your food. You're going to run out of water. You're going to potentially injure yourself. I mean, there's all kinds of ways you could injure yourself out here. You could twist an ankle. You could fall down and, you know, mess up your knee. I mean, there's just so many things. You could get bit by a rattlesnake. You could get, you know, poisonous plant oils on your skin. I mean, you can get ticks. I mean, there's so many things out here. You can get attacked by an animal. So you need to factor this into your bug out plans, okay? You know, and if you're going to bug out to an area like this and you have to cross terrain like this, you have to train in terrain like this, okay? And train off of trails, okay? Don't hike on trails all the time and roads, because that's not realistic, okay? If you're actually bugging out, you may not be able to use a trail, or you may not be able to use a road because it might be unsafe. There may be people out there that want to hurt you, and you have to avoid those types of areas. So that's pretty much it, guys. Just wanted to give you something to think about. Make sure that you're training realistically, that you have a realistic plan, that you're not overambitious. You have to know your limitations and make sure you're staying in shape, because you have to be physically fit to do these types of things. So take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps: prepare, practice, and persevere.